You're listening to the Ballet Piano Podcast, lifting the lid on dance accompaniment.
Hello, podcast fans, and welcome to this, the final episode of Series 1 of the Ballet Piano Podcast. My name is Chris Hobson, and for the first time in over, 12, 13, 14, 15 weeks in the studio, socially distanced with me is my wife, Akiko Hobson.
Hello.
And my fantastic friends and colleagues, Mr. Matt Gregory.
Hello.
And hashtag David Yao of Instagram.
Hello.
Hello. How are we all?
Good.
This feels really weird being back in the same studio and not on Zoom.
It does.
It's nice.
It feels really good.
Yeah.
It feels amazing.
Feels natural, just like how it should be.
Yes.
I love Matt's new haircut.
Matt's hair's all fixed.
Oh.
You know, hair's been a big topic, hasn't it?
It's been the biggest topic through lockdown. David's has buzzed his and it's all going well.
Yay.
So, we're here. The last episode of the season. We've finished the ballet class. We've done the Q&As. And now we're just here to sort of have a chat and reflect, really, aren't we?
We're wrapping up, isn't it?
We are wrapping ourselves up neatly. So,
Yeah.
Akiko, what have you learned since we started? Bear in mind, we first recorded this. When was it? I think it was about the 13th or the 14th of February. We went back into the studio and recorded.
February.
Was
yeah.
it?
Okay.
Yeah, because the first episode was published and Akiko and I were on holiday when the first episode went live to the world. We were over in New York pre-COVID and everything like that. So
I see.
let's go back to the start. What have you learned, Akiko?
To live with my husband during lockdown.
No, not about lockdown. About ballet class and about our job.
No, that is an episode of its own.
That'll be a separate podcast. What have you learned about our job that you didn't know?
I just learned, that, in the world, there's a lot of people who feel the same, who experience the same, who share the similar stories and then laugh about it together because it's been quite a lonely job that, you just go into the studio and you're on your own. You experience something good or something bad and you bring home and then forget about it next day. But now we have so many people in the world that we can share.
Definitely.
I mean, if I've learned that there's a dialogue to be had about this topic from doing the ballet class series. Of course, we've built the following on the social media and the amount of people that have reached out. We've had messages and emails from all over the world, questions and comments and this, that, and the other. And so it's been really nice to communicate with other ballet pianists in other countries. And like you say, Kiko, share the stories and the concerns and the insecurities. Because when you're behind the piano by yourself, it can feel quite lonely.
Yeah, and also, why you say lame duck? That was a bonus. Because I've been wondering for the last 15 years.
Have you actually learned the names of some steps, Chris?
I've learned some of them. I've learned that I need to know more steps. Not just because I know the names of steps, but I don't necessarily know what all of them look like.
Yeah.
And I've just got specific tempos in my head that I know will work and specific time signatures.
Yeah.
So I do need to increase my visual knowledge of ballet. And I will do that, I think, at some point when theatres reopen.
And I'll just say as well, being a ballet pianist and having David on the team has been absolutely, paramount. Because I feel like I've learned so much on the ballet side of things. You think you know enough to do the job, but obviously, David, you've contextualized everything and also brought that to it.
And also, how the ballet teacher feel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been amazed about how closely actually we've worked together, and we do work together when a teacher and a pianist work together, and so much is unsaid. But the pianists are amazing because you pick up so much. Even if you don't know what the names are or anything like that, what you work out yourselves is amazing.
Yeah.
Because what you produce is just what we want. That's been, for me, that's been a revelation.
It's that empathy, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The pianist just sort of feels, and I know I really like to be a team with the teacher for that reason, to support what they're doing. So, yeah.
But I think what this has kind of opened up is there is room for dialogue.
Yeah.
The fact that we need to really to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And for us both on both sides, not to take things for granted because, that's how it's always been.
Yeah.
I think it's been nice. I've enjoyed sharing the good stories and the insecurities as well as just the things that annoy you. Because quite often we can finish work or we can finish a day or a week and we'll say, oh, let's nip for a pint on our way home. And it's just human nature, isn't it? You focus on the things that have annoyed you or the things that you really want to get off your chest. And, you know, I mean, David, we do that quite often. Or we used to do that quite often, didn't we? At least twice a week. Whereas, you know, to share the insecurities and the high points as well as the low points has been nice. And I think, like Kiko said earlier, that we're all in the same boat.
Absolutely.
And don't take that for granted. It's, you know, everybody feels, all pianists feel, you know, to a certain degree, the same way, no matter how long you've been doing this job.
Yeah. And I think that the ballet teacher and the pianist will go into the studio on the same page.
Yes.
But going through our series and talking about the individual exercises, we're fine-tuning those details of what the pianist thinks, what the teacher thinks, and probably what the dancers thinks. And I think doing our little series of ballet exercises has just fine-tuned that intuition.
Yeah.
And that sort of, you know, what's it? Telepathy. Telepathy. That's the word I'm looking for. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think it's brought our minds closer together. It has for me anyway, listening to what the teacher...
Do you know what I've done in this? What I've learned is I've stolen some of your guys' repertoire and it's now become my repertoire. I've not stolen it. I've learned from others. I also didn't realise how many TV theme tunes I play.
You play a lot.
Well, I texted you the other day, Matt, didn't I? I was like, gosh, I forgot how good the Murder, She Wrote theme tune is.
Yes.
I think the randomness. So Jonathan Still at the start started producing playlists on Spotify, didn't he? And I think the Frappe one was the first one that he did.
Yeah.
And the choice of music in that was ridiculous, from the Swan Lake, very big famous G major coda, dun, 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 followed up with like Teletubbies and Wallace and Gromit and Black Beauty, and then maybe a little bit into like Corsair.
He created that playlist with the names of the tunes that we mentioned in that episode. So that's what he was doing. Whenever we referenced a piece of music, he put it in a playlist. And when you see them all, like say all the possible tunes you could play for a frappe, it's so vast, you know, the different styles of music you can play that fit into a frappe exercise. So that's what he started doing for us.
Oh, I didn't know. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and they're on the website.
They're all on the website, aren't they? It's good.
It's really good.
Actually, speaking of the website, because we're coming up to the end, what you could do on the website is log on there and subscribe. If you put your email address in, we promise that we won't send you any spam. But what you will get is all future updates and things about anything that the team's up to, latest episodes, newsletters, the works. So if you log on to balletpianopodcast.com, and on there's a little button at the bottom that says subscribe. And all you need to do is just give us your email address, and then you will always be kept fully up to date, including Jonathan Still's Spotify playlists.
And the transcriptions are also on the website. We've had all the episodes transcribed. If you're a reader as opposed to a listener, you can read all of the episodes on there.
And actually, some of the transcriptions are going to be translated soon, aren't they, as well, into different languages?
Yeah, there was some demand of translating into Japanese, so I will try to do so. And I hope Japanese listener will be able to read some, or just to cover that, the bit that they didn't understand. You can just read it. That would be great.
We're so grateful. Thanks again.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Do you know, I've noticed as well, I listened back to the first couple of episodes recently while I was out walking the dog. I've developed a broadcasting voice over the last 19 episodes because I sound quite northern at the start, and every now and then the vowels go quite flat when I'm speaking, but it's a little bit posher. And one of my cousins was listening to it. She said, "Oh, Chris, you really do have a telephone voice on that sometimes." And I seem to have fallen into this.
And it's because when we listen to the first episode back, you're hearing your voice as everybody else hears it, and that is so cringe at first. It's it's unbearable. But you get used to how your own voice sounds to other people, and then, like you say, you probably correct your accent or make it sound a bit clearer. So I think, I've done that as well, definitely.
So, reflection on the series as well. I was just thinking, I think this has been one of our greatest ideas and the greatest teamwork that I've ever done doing this job, because I think just working with you guys and talking has educated me so much. Mm-hmm. It's educated me about how different pianists approach class, because we don't often have that conversation. And David, you've educated me not just on ballet steps. It's so nice to see you looking at it across the room as opposed to on the screen. Not just about ballet steps, but about how a teacher feels as well, and what's going through a teacher's head when they're setting something, because that's never something that we really talk about, is it? Because when the teacher's gone through their training, of being taught how to teach, then they just sort of get on with it. And we know as a pianist, each teacher's got their own way of doing things. But sort of like knowing the formula, if you like, and the steps that you use to get to your musical conclusions has been really eye-opening for me.
Oh, for me, it's been the other way around. I mean, I've been absolutely amazed at how much you pick up with just body language and just your experience. It's been amazing. So it's been very educational for me as well. So thank you very much for sharing all your information and your experiences. It's been great.
Yay!
I mean, this is all chats that happen in the staff room. What everybody talks about their classes. Oh, this went wrong, that happened. So it's all conversation that happens. We're just putting it out there, aren't we? Yeah. Using our experiences and knowledge, and we've all had careers plus. How many years between us? A lot. And so you've got so many stories, and just to be able to put them out there, and to have other pianists across the world then tell us their stories and things. It's really valuable. Yeah. And that's how it started, wasn't it?
It is, yeah. And the anecdotes and the innuendo, or the accidental innuendo that's been out over the last 20 episodes. I mean, like the anecdote, Matt, was it the Grand Batman from your ballet teacher?
Oh, yes.
What was it?
Up like the bullet of a gun and down like the feathers from the bird that you've just killed. that is the energy of a Grand Batman.
That was brilliant. I like that one a lot. And there's been, the odd little bit of innuendo by accident, hasn't there?
Sticky little bit in at the end.
Yes, that was one.
There's been many of those.
But yeah, if you've missed out on that, what you could do is go back and listen to all the previous episodes and work out just how much innuendo you can hear.
Yes.
Of course, all completely unintentional. So just before we head on to the second half of this episode, we'd like to ask for your help. If you could go to your podcast provider and like and subscribe to us on there, and possibly give us a cheeky little review if you have time or you're able to, it would really help us appear higher in the new and notable charts, and it will basically help other people discover us as well. And of course, there's nothing like word of mouth, so why not tell your friends to do exactly the same thing?
Because we've had what is it? Must be over 7,000 downloads now, isn't it? And so if you're just listening to one episode and you think it's good, give us a little 5 stars, because it just pushes us up. And like you say, Chris, it means other people can find us easier.
It does. And also, if you subscribe to us, that means that the episode's going to be there in your podcast app every time we release a new episode, so you don't have to worry about missing some of this scintillating conversation. So Matt, where are we going next?
Here,
yes.
COVID-19. Because this pandemic, we're talking about this in real time this episode, aren't we?
We are
sort of coming out of lockdown, and we've been able to do this. But yeah, this pandemic has been really testing for everyone, hasn't it?
Yes.
Certainly with sort of the technology that we've had to do, and people not working, and especially on the ballet industry, it's been really tough, hasn't it?
Just for the theatre world in general, hasn't it? Really?
It's it's sort of crippling theatres really, and we've had the emergency fund from the government, which is very welcome. Some say it's not enough, and some people just obviously welcome it with open arms.
Yeah.
But, some theatres are closing, and they probably will never reopen.
So sad.
Yeah.
Sad
the Birmingham Hippodrome, there was a big, an article about that it might not open for.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. That's BRB's company, theatre, isn't it?
It's
Their home theatre, yeah. So
it's a very worrying time. I also feel very sorry for all the kids. I mean, it's summertime now, isn't it? In fact, we're recording this on our school in the Western Hemisphere's graduation day, and all the kids worldwide currently who are going to graduate and go out into this world. I mean, it was going to be different enough and challenging enough with the whole Brexit thing from the UK, people not changing their jobs quite as much and moving around as they used to. Now with this pandemic, I just feel, I don't know, very sad for them, and it's going to be a tough ride, isn't it? I think
it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I see third years on social media and stuff from the ballet schools and from the jazz schools and the musical theatre schools, and the final third year of training is all about the best technique you'll go out with and the most experience in performance from your third year. And then there's supposed to be that climax into the world of work for the musical theatre people getting agents and then auditioning. But, for the ballet students, securing those jobs when they're in the third years and, being offered places in companies. But of course, a lot of companies don't know what they're doing because of the finances of, funding them going forward. And so there's probably aren't the jobs there that were last year, because of money.
It has been life-changing, hasn't it, really?
Yeah, so they're going to graduate their third year and sort of hit that brick wall till things move again. So, yeah, we really feel for third-year graduate students. Yeah,
finding workarounds and ways to keep your training going as well, isn't it? Sometimes, people don't live in the big cities like London and places like that, having to do their own classes, following stuff online.
Yeah.
But it's made them be so independent so quickly. Yeah. That's one of the good things. Yeah. So they've really learned how to stand up on their own 2 feet because they've had to.
Yeah.
And find different ways of how to work and to keep him in shape. Really.
Yeah. Have you noticed in the students that you teach online,
Definitely.
sort of during this pandemic, how they're coping with it?
Yes, definitely.
Sort of more resilient.
Much more resilient.
Yeah.
Because they've had to. It's
been
so rough. So we're so proud of them all, because they really have had to knuckle down and find a way. And each person's situation has been different because they all live in different places.
Yeah.
Different sized rooms and everything that they've had to be able to work in.
And if they're in their home countries, they're doing class at their different times, aren't they?
Yes.
It's one time in England, but in other countries.
And now, of course, as we're starting to open up, in some countries they are opening up their studios, and others they're not. So it's all been quite different for different people at this stage.
Yeah. Well, that brings us nicely, I suppose. Well, nicely, it takes us straight into Zoom ballet classes, doesn't it? Because that's what we've been doing for the last
week,
16 weeks, 17 weeks, something like that.
Gosh.
I think Chris had enough of it.
I had enough. I did my last Zoom ballet class for the school in the Western Hemisphere with the lovely Mr. David Yao.
Yeah.
And it finished at 5 o'clock yesterday, and it was a nice end to it.
It was.
I don't want to do it again.
It's been very tough, hasn't it?
At the start, I was like, this is great. We can still keep working. And of course, I'm aware it's a little bit of first world problems because, we are thankfully all very happy and healthy and we all have homes and roofs over our heads and we haven't been touched by this virus in any way. So I am having first world problems here when I talk about Zoom. But after about 3 weeks or 4 weeks, you realise it starts to get greater. I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier, David. You can't read somebody's body signals and body language on the screen. You can't accompany. I think we talked about this briefly in the Q&A in the last episode. You can't do what we've trained to do and spent the last nearly couple of decades doing because you can't accompany something because you're playing for something that you haven't seen happen yet.
Yes.
So you're almost like it feels a little bit like you're preempting the future, which is difficult sometimes. You want to change your tempo.
Playing on Zoom, I think, requires a lot of experience from being in the studio.
Yeah.
Because if you're novice, you have to be so susceptible to everything in the studio. Yeah. But when you're on Zoom, you have to already have all that information and knowledge and experience because you have to trust your instincts that what you're playing is correct.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're in the studio and you're learning and you're new to it, you rely on all those other things other than the words to decide that what you're doing is right.
There's not much communication between the dancers and us.
It feels like you're playing a silent ballet class.
Yeah.
Because there's no speaking over the music or, this, that and the other.
Like we've talked previously about seeing dancers smile and look at you when they turn to the second side and give you a little thumbs up or a little wink and things like that. None of that's been able to happen because you can't do it.
No.
And the focus is very different, isn't it? Like you were saying, David, everyone's in different parts of the world. We've got different size rooms. I was playing for a teacher, I think it was last week or the week before, and it was the first time I've played 64 bars continuously for months. I was ready to stop after 16. I've got used to most exercises being so short.
Yeah.
And is that so they can correct between the sides of the bar? Are they shorter for that reason so that the teacher can actually speak?
Otherwise you don't get a chance to say
I can imagine.
Actually, that has been funny with some of the teachers, like some of the teachers that we both play for.
Yeah.
When we were working out how to do Zoom together, and I was like, right, okay, you are not allowed to speak whilst I'm playing. And for the first month of playing classes, it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And also it's sometimes funny, like, when you play for the exercise and sometimes you don't know how long, but normally in the studio, you kind of look at the dancer and then you can guess whether you have to continue or not. But
Yes.
if you look at the screen and then some dancers are a bit late, but they're just late to finish on the screen. And you play a next phrase, and actually that was the end of it.
Absolutely, yes.
So much.
It's easier to read when you're in the studio whether you're going to go on or not.
Yeah.
Not on Zoom. But just going back to what you said earlier about you've played however many weeks on Zoom, I'm where you are at the start of the lockdown because last week I've obviously have the technology to do so, and so I'm all excited about it and wanting to learn how to play for class on Zoom. But yeah, if you've been doing it for 3 months up against those challenges.
Do you know, I think it's been good that we've been able to keep everybody's training going, not just, with the schools, but companies have been using it to offer different classes. Like Dan DeAndre up at Northern Ballet. I was going to call it Northern Ballet Theatre then. It's not been called that for a decade. Dan up at Northern Ballet, I think he's doing his last Zoom class today. And it's been opened up to companies across the world. So all you do is drop him a little direct message on Instagram. And he's had some great people playing for him. He's had a couple of the pianists, one from New York City Ballet, one from, somewhere else. Philip Feeney was accompanying his class today as well. Wow. They've had their company pianists doing it. So just giving stuff into the industry. Actually, a lot of people have been doing that through lockdown, haven't they? They've just been giving stuff out there to help everybody and to help yourselves. Like we were doing it at the start a little bit, weren't we, Akiko, for graduate students, and it didn't matter what you were doing or what your age was. The only thing you had to have was you had to have been to this school in the Western Hemisphere. And that was it, just to sort of keep everybody's spirits up and keep a little bit of training going. You got, a class taught by one of your previous teachers, and it was accompanied by either Akiko and I. It was really good for sort of like keeping people's morale going at the start, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. It was some of my happiest classes, actually.
Oh. And the amount of the people who just want to dance still, in the house even, which is amazing.
I mean, the company of the school in the Western Hemisphere, they've gone back. They've gone back to work this week and properly next. And from what I can see on social media, what they're doing looks very clever. They have one teacher and one pianist in a studio teaching the class, and they live stream that class to the other studios where there's 10 dancers, all socially spaced, because they have the big screens and all the technology in every studio, so they can see the teacher set the class and then have the music come through in that studio from that pianist in the other studio.
Wow, technology.
So
That's very clever.
It means it keeps the numbers down, it keeps them socially distanced. And keeping everything clean. And they have a little one-way system. They have a little sort of, if you're walking into the studio, the floor's all taped. So they don't really encounter other people's space, which is really clever.
Yeah.
And I saw as well, all the ladies had their point shoes in their bags, first day back, as it were. And so they wouldn't have to go to the point shoe room and encounter people. They could just go and pick up their shoes remotely. Yeah. Wow. It's very clever. Very clever. And I suppose this is the new normal, isn't it? These things are in place. I know. I liked the old normal.
I like normal. I don't want to change. See, because I always say I don't like change. And actually, I do like change. I've done a lot of change in my life, but I only like change when I'm in charge of it. I don't like anybody else being in charge of my change. So, we're nearly at the end of our first season of the Ballet Piano Podcast, but we need to let you know what we've got coming up in the near future. And the first exciting thing that we have, we're going to call Hot Topics. So this is just going to be an episode of varying lengths as we've become accustomed to doing in this podcast. And each episode is going to focus on one particular area of the ballet class. So it could be, how do you source and square off your repertoire? Or
choosing repertoire,
accompanying a contemporary class, accompanying a point or a pas de deux class.
Variation.
So all the extra bits that go along with playing for a ballet class, we're going to go into those in much, much more detail. And then we have the very exciting series, which is going to be launched hopefully around the start of 2021, and that's going to be called In Conversation.
Woohoo!
Now, this is, for us, is very exciting. Basically, we get to speak to our heroes, people that we admire, people that we think are, our godfathers, Jonathan still included, and we're going to get their insights, their understandings, their approaches, and learn about their careers, aren't we? So we've got music directors, company pianists, class pianists, freelancers, artistic directors, choreographers,
rehearsal directors,
dancers, principal dancers. We've got an absolutely amazing list that's going to be coming up.
We could try and get a notator on or something,
We could. I'm going to leave that one up to you, because I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I do actually know Anna Trevian at the Royal Opera House. She's one of their notators. We could ask her.
Is this a public plea?
She might not be listening.
She might not listen.
I should message her and say, listen, we've got an idea.
We've got a lot coming up. The class series is just the start.
Yeah, the list is a lot. I mean, I could go to the list now, but I won't. But there are going to be lots of interviews and lots of talking with people of the ballet world, people with kudos, serious kudos, and people that have these wonderful careers that you might not know about, but you want to know about. So
yes, and I've just remembered, just reflecting on lockdown and going forward, we've got one thing coming up that has been done in lockdown and is going to be released after lockdown, don't we?
Oh yes,
we do. And the as yet untitled Ballet Piano Podcast Class CD.
Yay!
We have made a class CD. I can't believe that.
So between the three of us, you've got a full ballet class. It's got bits of me, bits of Martin, bits of Akiko in there. It's like, again, this baby has 3 parents, and it's going to be released, I'd imagine, probably the middle of August. We've got about another 4 or 5 weeks left until that's going to be out in the public.
There's 30 tracks, so we've done 10 each.
There is, it's a complete ballet class. So that'll be available to download via, the usual places like iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, etc. All of those big download platforms will be stocking our CDs. So you need to make sure that you stay tuned to the social media channels, such as, on Instagram, it's Ballet Piano Podcast.
We're on, that's all the social media. It's Ballet Piano Podcast. Facebook, Twitter.
The work. So
we're everywhere.
Yeah, keep checking in for further information on that.
We included some of David's favorite tune, didn't we?
Oh, bless! Thank you.
Yes.
Look forward to this.
Did anyone do Misty?
Have you?
I have.
Yeah.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Out of Africa?
No, I don't think so.
Well, there's going to be more CDs.
There's going to be more CDs.
Yeah,
yes.
There'll be volumes and volumes.
So that's it, really, isn't it? It's time really to bring the season to a close. Feels a little bit sad.
I know.
It's so sad. Oh. Well, it's not a close because we're going to be back in a month with hot topics. I suppose, until next time, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.